Hey everyone, it sure has been a hot minute since I've last been here, huh? 3 months, Jesus Christ. So, I just wanted to make a video as a little apology and just to clear some stuff up, like why I've been away for so long, and the cluttered mess that my channel, my currently very much dying channel, is in. TLDR, anxiety, pressure, imposter syndrome, death in the family, generally just being a sad sack of shit. If you want, you don't have to sit through that. I'll split the video up into chapters and you can skip to the update stuff by scrubbing through the timeline below or just clicking the timestamp in the description. Fair warning, this video might get a little bit rambly, even though it's actually scripted, which might be kind of weird for this style of video, but if I just sit down in front of a mic and start spewing words, it's gonna turn out awful. But whatever, let's get into it. This year has been awful for me. Like, sure, okay, I've been locked inside most days because of the stupid COVID-19 pandemic, which I can name drop here but not in any other video because I'll get demonetized for some reason, god damn it, Susan. And then there were the fires at the start of the year that completely surrounded the town I live in, which was scary as all fuck, but that's pretty much just the tip of the iceberg of all my problems. At the start of the year I announced that I would be ending the Everything Right and Wrong With series, which was a relief for me, but to others it was almost like Jack's Films ending his Yay series or something. I expected backlash, and backlash is kind of what I got, but also a lot of love pouring out from the community, saying stuff like, that's okay, we're here for you, you can make anything and we'd still watch it, or I'm gonna miss E-Raw, but I can't wait to see what you do next. Which is where my problems kind of started. Like, okay, don't get me wrong here, I appreciate the shit out of these comments, but that put a lot of pressure on me. My flagship series was gone and I was expecting people to still stick around, which at first they did. And like, from there on out I had to prove that I was a channel still worth watching and sticking around for. So, what did I do? I released a bloody short review about a roguelike, told everyone I was a furry, then talked about a racing game no one had ever heard of before disappearing for 3 months. What a way to kick off my rebranded channel. I thought, obviously I needed to talk about something people were actually interested in hearing about, so I got to work recording and writing a script for a review of The Last of Us Part 2. Partially because I was hoping it would reinvigorate interest in my channel, and partially because I love the first game, and I figured my thoughts on the second would be genuine enough that maybe people would care. All this time I've got thoughts floating around in my head, like, do people care? Why would they watch my review over someone like Angry Joe or something? And I'm in the middle of writing this review and I realize I have like next to no jokes in it. People think I'm funny. Maybe they're right, I don't know, but I never pictured myself as being all that funny, and suddenly there's this extra pressure to try and force some jokes in because if I don't, people aren't going to remember the video as much. I always found that if people don't comment on the funny stuff, there's only ever so many comments that focus on a particular part of the video, while the rest are generic stuff like great video and no one, not a single soul, Valor for XD after not uploading for weeks or something. So suddenly I'm obsessed with going back through the script and changing stuff to be as memorable as possible, trying to find ways to fit jokes in, let alone actually thinking of jokes to fit in the first place. And it's this constant pressure to be good at what I do that whittles away at my resolve until eventually I just give up and go lie in bed and watch dank pods. And this all ties into this unending feeling of inadequacy that I've been having, that I haven't really been able to shake in months, let alone years. I feel like I've kind of stumbled into this position and I don't know what the fuck to do with it. I keep over-promising things. That Need for Speed retrospective I started last year, that I said would take me a few months at best, I've done 2 videos on it. I still have so many to go, and I feel like shit that I've only been able to do 2 videos on it in the past, 8 months? And it's been 5 or 6 months since the last one. I said I'd review the Sly Raccoon games, nothing's come of that yet. I wanted to make a huge Ratchet & Clank video, nothing's come of that yet either. I wanted to release a video on The Last of Us Part 2 closer to its launch. It's now September. I just feel like sometimes I'm biting off more than I can chew. And this feeling of inadequacy isn't just related to videos either. It's affected me in day-to-day life as well, like when I talk to people. I get that like being quiet and introverted is a normal thing for people to experience, but I always feel like I experience that awful feeling so often and so intensely. You ever see me on Twitter and over on the Veilforce Discord server, you might think, oh, what a quirky chap, I'd like to hang out with them in real life. But then when it comes to one-on-one conversations in DMs or real life, it always feels so one-sided. I feel like I never know what to say or how to react, and everything that comes out of my mouth has to go through like 13 is it okay if I say this checks before it comes out of my mouth. At which point there's already been an uncomfortable silence, so what's even the point? It's why I don't have a lot of friends, why I'm slow to respond to DMs and sometimes even just leave them on red. Sometimes the thought of engaging in simple conversation fills me with so much anxiety that I almost just kind of shut down. it often feels like they're the one who has to initiate conversation because I never know what the fuck to say. And they tell me that's stupid and I gotta stop beating myself up over it. And I mean, they're completely right, but it's so hard to me, you know? Basically, I've always felt inadequate as a person because sometimes it just feels like I'm barely able to function. There's the imposter syndrome I get all the fucking time when I'm working on videos, and the fact that it's so difficult for me to talk to people. But then there's other stuff, like I haven't had an actual job since 2014 because the idea of people depending on me for a service makes me anxious as hell. I'm struggling to lose weight and actually keep it off, which is something I desperately want to do because I want to be able to fit into actually decent looking clothes instead of the really plain and boring Mr. Big line of clothing from Big W. People like my art and think it's cute, and sometimes I'm inclined to agree, but other times I get stuck on drawing a single fucking hand or foot and just give up. Like, why the hell would I say I'm gonna do animated skits and make Remy the face of my videos when I can barely fucking draw? It's a lot of small problems that on their own are just whatever, but combined are just slowly eating away at me and my health, and trying to make changes and better myself is easier said than done. And then June and July came along, just absolutely ruined me. It was around that time that I found out my mum's lung cancer had worsened. She'd been battling cancer since around July last year, and she'd been kind of on and off for a while. Like, some days she'd just sleep, other days she'd be up on her feet exerting more energy than most other living beings would. Even though she had these weird ass mosquito bite infections on her legs as well, she was practically always in pain. I still don't know the full story with those. I don't know why they were never treated properly. I mentioned those back in 2016 in that video where I talked about her getting attacked by a woman with a knife. That's how long they'd been there for. Anyway, mid through June, I found out that the cancer had developed to stage 4 and she'd been given roughly 6 months to live. It could be longer than that, the doctors said. She could live for a few years, or she could go in as little as a few weeks' time. I can't say any of those outcomes were what any of us wanted, but the longer the better, we supposed. And then, cruelly, she was taken from us only 2.5 weeks later. On July 2nd, I sat by her bedside and held her hand as she drew her last breath. Barely a week later, I was one of her pallbearers who had to carry her to her grave. That ruined me. And I realize this is getting kind of heavy, but I want to be open and honest as to why I've been away for so long. Mum's death was the straw that broke the camel's back, and I haven't recovered since. I don't think I ever fully will recover from that. Mum was a role model to me. She was a very stern but selfless and caring woman who, even though she had so many hardships in her life, was always positive, was always thinking about others. She always put everyone else ahead of her, and she raised so many beautiful children, but she was never dealt a good hand. She was always stuck moving between crappy houses and barely being able to afford anything, let alone able to buy things for herself. Though she'd always pull through and try to make our birthdays and Christmases as amazing as possible. I mean, I don't know how she did it, but gosh dang, she did it. And I'm gonna be honest, I've never said this to anyone before, but part of the reason why I wanted to make it big on YouTube was because she never got to live comfortably, and I wanted to at least be able to afford to buy her stuff to make her happy, where she couldn't. She probably would have turned it all down knowing her, but still. She deserves so much more than what she actually got, and to see her pass away before she got the life she deserved wasn't fair at all. She was only 46. Like that's fucked. There's no other words for it. It's fucked. It's not fair at all. But yeah, that just kind of sent me into a full-on downward spiral, and to be honest, I should have done it earlier, but I think I need to go and talk to someone about it because I don't know if I'm jumping the gun when I say this, but I probably have depression or something. The past 2 months in particular have had brief moments of happiness amidst near constant feelings of being miserable and anxious and worthless and not wanting to do anything except curl up in bed, cuddle up to my Pikachu plushie and cry myself to sleep, which I'm not proud to admit I've done multiple times. Normalize grown adults sleeping with plushies. This is a lot to take in, I know, and maybe I'm sharing a little bit too much of my personal life here, but I think one of the first steps to recovery for me is laying everything out bare like this. No filter, no sugarcoating, no bullshit. It's always made me feel better talking about this stuff with friends or even posting about parts of it on Twitter, so I think in some ways maybe this is necessary. And maybe even it'll help not only myself, but maybe other people who are going through this kind of thing too. Even though I've experienced very intense feelings of anxiety, inadequacy, worthlessness, and probably even depression, it's still normal for people to experience similar things, and maybe this will help bring awareness, or maybe some other people will be able to relate in some way. And if not, that's fine. At least you all know where I've been and why I haven't uploaded in so long. I'm really sorry that I haven't been able to fulfill my promises on the videos you've all been expecting. And I'm sorry that, particularly here on YouTube, I've been pretty silent about it. And I'm sorry for making you sit through this depressing ass video. I promise I won't make this a habit, lol. I wouldn't exactly say I'm doing fine. I'm still in a bit of a rut at the moment and trying to get myself out of this rut. It's difficult. But I have a wonderful community, a small but endlessly caring group of friends, and the best boyfriend anyone could ever ask for, all of which have tried their absolute best to help me, even when I've been acting unreasonably, and frankly without them, I don't know where I'd be right now. Anyway, I think that's enough of the sad stuff for now. I'm just going to talk briefly about what all this might mean going forward and what I'm going to get up to in the future. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. People have been waiting for me to continue this for like 6 months now, and like I said earlier, the pressure and expectations really got to me when it came to this series, so I think what I'm going to do moving forward is just do them when I can do them. Calling it a retrospective places an expectation onto me to be continuing the series at a decent pace, and I'm not sure I have it in me to be able to do it between every other video. So while I'm still going to do all the games in the series eventually, I'm just going to do them when I feel I can. There's also a new format that I want to experiment with where I tackle a few games at a time, which I want to do specifically because there's a lot of games I want to talk about but can't dedicate a whole video to unless I make them bloody short reviews, which, TBH, I'm not really a fan of short videos, so I feel like this is the next best thing. It's also lower effort than full reviews because I don't have to delve into the inner workings of each and every single game, which makes it way easier to write the script, which probably means I'll be able to get these out way faster too, hopefully. If people like it, cool. If it flops, and I move on. The next video is going to be in this format, and it should be out soon as long as I don't get too sad, lol. I do say lol a lot, don't I? I keep saying I'm gonna stream eventually, but I think that's off the table. At least for now. I'm not in any state to be entertaining people live. I'd still love to do it at some point, but now is definitely not the time. The Last of Us Part 2 review is still coming, that'll be very soon, and I'm still working on Sly Raccoon stuff as well, though that might be a little further down the line. There's a few ideas for skits I have that I really don't want to scrap just because I don't feel like my art is all that great yet, so I want to work on that before I try it. Also, writing these has been hard because I feel like those videos should have had a decent amount of funnies, and honestly, I've been really struggling with that. And I also think I'm going to stop announcing what videos I'm doing in advance from now on because that just puts even more pressure on me, and sometimes I decide midway through production that I'm not vibing with it and scrap it, which usually ends up disappointing somebody if I've already announced it. Remember when I promised reviews for Spyro: A Hero's Tale and Dangerous Driving? Me too. And speaking of funnies, I think going forward, some videos will have a lot of funnies in a skit or two, and some will have a few funnies while the main focus stays on analysing a game in depth. I'm thinking of differentiating between the two by having the former accompanied by a thumbnail with some sick art or something, while the others use the standard Remy stands on the right and there's a picture of the game on the left thing, so you kind of know what type of review you're getting. I like making reviews with humour in them, but sometimes it's just really hard to come up with more than a couple jokes, depending on the game. And if I stop worrying about that as much, then maybe I'll feel better about my content in the long run. And finally, I want to thank everyone. I've been gone for so long for various reasons, and even despite that, lots of people have still stuck around. My analytics are looking pretty shitty at the moment, and that does make me feel pretty anxious about the future, but it's still good to know that not only do I have a dedicated viewer base who still sticks around, but also the support of all the people who pledged to me over on Patreon, and for all the people who draw such amazing fan art of Remy. I fucking love this community, okay? You're so sweet and patient and understanding, and if I could hug all of you, I would. Thank you for believing in this dumbass and their terrible upload schedule. It might take a bit of time, but I promise I'm gonna fix it. I want to get back into uploading stuff and eventually be pumping out videos every 2 weeks, not only because you guys deserve it, but I don't think I'm gonna be satisfied with myself until I'm able to do so. So again, thank you all so much. And I think that's it. Starting with the next upload, you'll all be seeing regular old unfunny raccoon boy back to the normal self. Don't worry. If you have any questions, be it about videos or anything else I talked about today, drop them down below, hit me up on Twitter, or even over on Curious Cat if you're into that sort of thing. Also, come hang out on the cesspool of degeneracy that is the Veil Force. Okay, it's not that bad, but I'm there pretty often if you want to chat. And the community there's pretty alright too. except for when fucking Jenna shows up. Ugh. And to anybody who draws fan art of Remy, I'm gonna be putting that up at the end, or maybe even in the middle of videos, Rebel Taxi style from now on, whenever I get any. So feel free to send any you make my way. You'll be credited, of course. I'll slap your handle up next to it on screen, and I'll provide a direct link down in the description. And with that, I think I'm all out of things to say for now. So again, thank you guys for all the love and support. I hope you guys enjoy the next few videos, because I think they're pretty alright. And yeah. Bye.